In this video, I will give you 5 of the best Hearthstone decks right now, so you guys know what to play in the new season, as well as into the Brawlseum. I'll give you a quick guide about them, their mulligans, as well as matchups, so you have a better idea of how to play with and against them. And we will also check out all of the other working archetypes for every class. To be honest, I'm kinda tired today, and I'm definitely not feeling like making a video, but I know how important it is for you guys, especially in the new season and with the Brawlseum right now, so I'm gonna do it anyway. And if you guys appreciate that and find it helpful, a like and subscribe would really help. And also don't forget you can hire me for some Hearthstone coaching. Now, let's check out the decks.
You are not prepared!
The first deck on the list is gonna be Unholy Death Knight, and this is by far one of the simplest and most effective decks in the game right now. All because of this single spell. Grave Strength is such an amazing card right now, and it's basically a 4-mana Bloodlust, and it combines so well with your hero power, you can basically kill opponents out of nowhere like that. The other great thing about this deck is, it does a wonderful job at actually flooding the board over and over again with small, sticky minions, and you can also discover a lot of cool extra spells, and if you're smart about it, you can definitely weave yourself a win in normally pretty hard matchups. With your Nerubian Visor and School Teacher, depending on the matchup, you can take all sorts of things, ranging from card removal, to extra board, to more card draw, or just lifesteal and health gain. You also have Famished Fool for a ton of card draw, and we have Lord Marigar at the end, which is a nice card that can basically steal the game if you already haven't won by turn 8. You can check out my detailed guide about this deck as well as the coaching session I did with it, so you have a better understanding of the deck. Matchup wise, let's look at the different variant that runs Peasants instead of Trogs, but you still should have a good idea of what the matchups are gonna be looking like. And as you can see, Blood Death Knight and Frost Death Knight are not gonna be too hot for you, but everything else is great. For the mulligan, again let's use the Peasant variant, but just pretend it's a Trog, basically the keep rate is gonna be similar. And going first, here's what it looks like. Blightfang can be an extremely good card, but make sure to keep it against opponents that actually are planning to play something against you. Even though that's kinda hard to predict, given the fact that there are plenty of classes that have both control and aggro archetypes right now. Trog would also be a pretty good keep when going first, Arms Dealer, Battle Fiend, especially if you already have a Body Bagger, and depending on the matchup, Plague Strike can also make some sense, but don't just keep it when going first like that. Amalgam can also be great if you already have a 1-drop Undead you want to be playing, and Hogstrider on tempo on turn 3 can also be a pretty sticky minion that the opponent can't actually deal with. If you already have some undeads going, Nerubian Visor might also make sense, but the rest are probably not great keeps. And when on the coin, it's basically similar. Trog might feel a little bit less keepable there, but Plague Strike definitely starts making a lot more sense now because you are gonna be reacting to what the opponent is playing. On the number 2 spot, we also have Frost Death Knight, which is again from the Death Knight, but given the fact how different these archetypes are, let's just pretend this is a different class. Since you guys know I like to give you 5 different classes on each top 5, well, Death Knight is just a special occasion, isn't it? With Frost Death Knight, even though Glacial Advance got nerfed, it's still a monster of a deck, especially with all the aggro that's out there right now. And you having access to tools like Howling Blast really helps you against those. And let's not forget Frostworm also can deny the opponent any sort of board pressure after turn 7, because this deck is not running the discount weapon anymore. Instead, we have Vicious Slither Spear as a staple in this deck nowadays. We also still have Astalor, a couple of Death Chillers, and a couple of School Teachers for extra discoverability. You're no longer running Talnos or the Spell Power Girl, because OTKing with only a single discount from Glacial Advance is not as doable anymore, but all around you're still pretty strong with it. Matchup wise, here's what the stats show, and Big Spell Mage is not gonna be great, Ram Druid is gonna gain too much armor for you, and same can be said for Blood Death Knight, but there, the problem is with health. Mulligan wise, again, we're gonna have to use a variant that's not running the Nagas, but instead Blood Mage Talnos and the Rhymefang weapon, but again, just pretend they're not here. When going first, I wouldn't really be keeping things like Overseer Frigidaura, it's just too far down the road if you ask me, but if you're already curving out perfectly with let's say a Bonebreaker and Harbinger of Winter, you can basically keep literally anything else, even a Frostworm in that case. Chofang Baron helps you get some good card draw going, Lady Death Whisper usually makes a lot of sense, Tessarian is your best 4-drop, and also Death Chiller on tempo is not bad at all. When on the coin, it's kinda similar, but here you can also consider keeping things like Frost Strike, and the Nerubian Visor also becomes a lot more keepable. You can keep it when going first as well, if you already have the Harbinger of Winter, but when going second you can keep it as is. For other good Death Knights, we also have Blood Death Knight doing okay, but obviously Frost and Unholy are taking the cake. There is a 55% Blood Death Knight with a pretty small sample size, but still, it is usable and you can be farming a lot of aggro with it too. On the number 3 spot, we have Aggro Mage. And this deck is actually performing amazingly well even in top 1000 legend, because the skill cap is pretty decent. The deck has a lot of 1-drops and that helps you infuse your frozen touches over and over again, and you have also Aegwin in here, which gives you +2 spell power even on the next minion you play, so suddenly your frozen touches start doing 5 damage each. And you're also gonna have plenty of arcane bolts in your hand, and after turn 8 that's also gonna be 1 mana deal 5 to the face. You also have your Frostweaver, so you can draw out some core frost spells, but also the 1/1s on the board are incredibly helpful, especially that early in the game. Cold Case gives you some skeletons and armor, and also Deathborn keeps the board in check, so you can punish people that are going white against you. The location is still as OP as ever, even after the nerf. And you have Commander Sivara, so you can get all of those chunky spells back. Matchup wise, again, Big Spell Mage is not gonna be your friend, Ramp Druid, as well as Unholy and Blood Death Knight. Everything else looks like fair game. For the mulligan, going first, here's what it looks like, and Commander Sivara feels a little bit too high on the keep list here, but your good 1-drops, Frostweave Dungeoneer, and also Location would also be great keeps. Deathborn can also make some sense if you're recurving into it, and if you're against a particular matchup. And also Amplified Snow Flurry on curve is not something to scoff at either. When on the coin, here's what it looks like, and again it's pretty similar, but I guess Frozen Touch becomes even more keepable, as well as Cold Case. For other good mage decks, we also have Big Spell Mage doing wonderfully, and even Secret Mage is usable right now, even though you're not gonna be taking any top legend with it. Ping Mage is also still usable, but it's not as good as the rest. On the number 4 spot, Curse Imp Warlock is still an amazing option for climbing, as well as the Brawlzeum by the way. I managed to get 10 wins with it, after an amazingly bad start with 1 win and 2 losses. But yeah, Curse Imp Warlock is just an amazing deck still, opponents still don't know exactly how to play against you, and you can still steal some very fast wins if you curve out fast with your imps. But let's not forget, you can also take the late game with a bunch of curses. You can check out my super detailed guide about this deck, so you know how to play better with and against this deck. Matchup wise, we have a lot of stats here, and you can see Frost Death Knight is not gonna be super good, but also Unholy can be a problem. Same can be said for Aggro Demon Hunter, and also Miracle Rogues, if they manage to build very big men super early, are gonna be a problem because you don't exactly have the best of removal here. Evolve Shaman can also high roll a lot, and then Rage Warrior has a little bit too much stats for your removal too. Mulligan wise, again, check out the detailed guide about it if you want to hear my thoughts on it. Here's the quick stats for it when going first, and same when going second. For other good Warlock decks, we still have Imp Warlock doing great, and Phylactery Warlock is very usable even in top legend, but you have to be very skilled with this deck in order to do good with it. And on the last spot we have Evolve Shaman still, which is still scamming wins, and it can get Deathwing literally as soon as turn 2 if you're going second. So yeah, the high roll potential with this one is extremely high, especially if you know how to pull it off. This variant is using 2 Bloodlusts, as well as Shadowhunter, Vol'jin, and Neptulon, which seem to be staples in the deck nowadays. But everything else is basically the same. I guess Windchill is also a card that people swap out for things like Frost Strike and whatnot, but yeah, you're already pretty used to the deck, and again, you can check out my guide about it. Matchup wise, Ping Mage and Aggro Druid might be a problem in some cases, but all around you can see everything looks very green, so climbing should not be an issue. For the mulligan, when going first, Schooling, Priestess, and Carving Chisel are gonna be your best bets, but also Muckpool and Farsight can make the cut too. You don't really want to be keeping your Gnoll here unless you already have Schooling in hand, and when on the coin, the situation is a bit different because Gnoll becomes your best keep, and the reason behind that is you have 2 extra cards, being 1 extra card plus the coin. Schooling is still amazing, and with the Gnoll this way you can put him down as soon as turn 2, and if you have the best hand ever, you're even gonna be able to coin out Muckpools after that and evolve your Gnoll, possibly into a 12/12 Deathwing, which is absurd for a turn 2. Pre-Science still amazing, Chisel as well, and even Convincing Disguise could make the cut here. For Shaman, that's basically your best bet, and everything else is just a lot weaker. Murloc Shaman was above 50, but now it's not. And for the classes we didn't mention, starting off with Demon Hunter, Spell Demon Hunter is still pretty decent with your relics, but also Aggro Demon Hunter is a pretty simple and fast deck that can farm a lot of wins. Outcast Demon Hunter is barely usable, but it's under 50, so you gotta be really good to actually climb with it. With Druids, Aggro Druid will be your best bet, and it seems like Ramp is actually garbage now. with Hunters surprisingly still shock-spitters at the top, but the sample size is pretty low to really believe it, and you can see that Beast Hunter is actually the best performer with a lot better sample size and still very decent results. With Paladins, Control Paladin seems to be the best performer now, but also Pure Paladin is still very strong and it's an excellent deck to take for Brawlisiums as well. Silverhand Aggro Paladin is also somewhat usable, still at 55% win rate, and Dragon Paladin is about 53%. Priest right now has to rely on Undead Priest as its best performer, but also Quest Priest is actually still very decent, especially with all the aggro running around. Control Priest without the quest is also doable, and Blessed Priest and Svalna Priest are actually pretty decent, even in top legends still if you know how to play them. With Rogues, Miracle Rogue is the best performer, but not as good as it used to be, and now it's only down to 53% win rate. Thief Rogue is barely above 50, so one can say that the last batch of nerfs actually did take it down finally. And for Warrior, and Rage Warrior is the best performer, but also Charge Warrior has a decent win rate with a relatively small sample size, but still, it's looking believable. And we also have Quest Warrior barely above 50%, so that's usable again still, but it's not the powerhouse it used to be. So that's gonna be it for this top 5, guys. Hope this helps you figure out what you wanna be playing into the new season or into the Brawlisium. If you found the video helpful and you're serious about Hearthstone, definitely leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris05 and I'll see you in my next video or stream.